All right. You want to jump to comics?
Sure.
So I think I'm the one that put the most comics up there, so I guess I'll get started.
Get started.
Was that?
Get it started.
I'm gonna get it started. So I actually had this comic on an earlier show that I was going to talk about, and we cut it because of time. So it's 5 issues in now, and I think it's completed its first arc. The story is something's killing the children. I've got all 5 issues if you guys want to take a look at some of the artwork and stuff. The art, so I will say this. The art's not my favorite. It looks very rushed. Derek,
Tinian to the fourth.
Oh, sorry.
But I will say the storyline, I'm loving it. So it's very fast-paced. So if you've been reading these slow burn comics and you're like, what the heck's going on?
Don't break what? His comic, don't break.
Don't break the comic. Be careful with my comic. So the idea is that obviously there is something killing the children in this small town. And there's this young girl. She looks like she's probably between 16 and 21 in that age range. She gets off a bus one day, and she is a complete and total badass. And she is trying to figure out what's going on in this town because she seems like this is not her first rodeo, and she knows exactly what she has to do. She's got some weird quirks about her that you slowly start learning more and more about her. They don't even mention her name until like issue 3. Like she keeps talking to people and nobody seems to stop and say, "Wait, who are you?" Which kind of baffled me. But she's got like a cell phone that's always ringing with someone on the other end. That she picks up the phone and she's like, "Yeah, I get it. I'm doing it." Like she's pissed off about this guy calling her all the time, or girl, whoever it is. So she's got somebody that's keeping tabs on her. She's got a small stuffed octopus doll that she's always talking to. For some reason, you start to learn that there's a reason why she's talking to it, and then she's also got this weird scar above her left eye, which is usually covered up until you see it. So it's kind of a horror / mystery, which is one of my favorite genres to mix together, and it's a very fast-paced comic, but you start to learn little bits and pieces of this young girl throughout each comic. Like you learn a little bit more, and you don't quite get the whole picture. So I really enjoyed it. I would recommend it if you like horror and mystery kind of mixed together. Probably more on the horror side than the mystery side. I would expect the first trade for this is going to come out pretty quickly with the end of this 5th issue.
Well, I see it's written by James Tinian, the 4th? Is that
Yeah, this is
I like his
comic
stuff.
for reading his.
He's doing some, I think, Batman now, or Detective something. The art is interesting. It's that sketchy style that, looks, like you said, doesn't look like it's finished or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't hate it for what it is. I bet it probably works well for the story, and the storytelling looks good. So it's not my favorite art style, but the storytelling is pretty interesting.
They did Bendis's bit better than Bendis.
Isn't everything better than Bendis, though?
I like Bendis, so...
I'm not a huge fan. The one thing Bendis. That does... Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was Bendis.
The one thing that I will say, and this is a perfectly good example of it, when they do a lot of panels like this together, so I usually read the left page and then the right page, and if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it, because on here they've got like 2 panels that cross the middle between the 2 pages, and you're supposed to read the entire 2 pages, top line, then second line, then third line, and there have been at least 4 or 5 times now that I've read one page, then start reading the other page and going, something's wrong with this conversation, and I get to the end and I go, dang it, I read it in the wrong order, and I got to go back and like make sure the continuity is correct between all the...
Which when I was looking through, I saw that instantly, and that was one of the things I liked about it. I thought, okay, this is how they're playing with the layout of the page. So
I mean, I like it.
It's supposed to slow you down, so you're not like rushing all the way through it.
Which they need to, because there's not a lot of dialogue in that thing.
There's not, and that's one of I like reading, but I like stuff that's quick.
See, I don't. If I've paid $3.99 or more for something, I need to spend more than 5 minutes reading.
You know what? If the story is good,
but I don't know how good it can be if it's not enough meat to it.
So that's one of the beautiful things about the main character in this is that she's very short and to the point when people are talking to her. Like, you ask her questions, it's yes or no answers. She has a very, if you don't have a need to know, I don't need to tell you anything mentality. So the whole, there's not a lot of dialogue is actually intentional because it puts you in that feeling, that mindset that I feel like she has where it's I don't know who the hell you are. I'm gonna breeze past you and keep going with what I'm doing because I got a mission. So,
Sweet.
all right. Let's mix up a little bit. Doug, what did you bring? Did you
Oh.
bring a comic?
Shit, I'm not ready.
He's
You're
not ready.
So I'm gonna
I'll jump
mine
in.
next. Okay, go for it. You got something?
I didn't bring anything, but I know what I read recently.
Then you don't get to talk if you didn't bring it.
I get to talk. So one of the things I'm reading now that I'm loving is Marauders. So I know we're going to talk about Dawn of X at some point, but I'm going to jump into it now.
No, let's go for it.
Because Kitty Pryde is my favorite. I'm really
caught up.
yeah, I think so.
I think is everybody caught up except for you, Doug?
And I just love the fact that they're in this new world that the X-Men have created, and there's so many interesting things they're doing with it. Kate Pryde, this grown-up version of her, is really exciting. There's a danger involved in it that affects so far only her, and that's really cool.
Are you worried at all from the last episode?
I'm not worried. I feel like
issue.
I feel like I don't feel like she's done for. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
And of all the new books, X-Men, X-Force, and Marauders are my favorite. Then Fallen Angels, which surprises me, but I really still like it. The art is kind of irritating, but the story is really engaging.
You know,
which I didn't expect
though, right?
because I haven't heard that.
Well, did you
Did
read
not
the
read
last one?
issue?
What?
Maybe I'm an issue behind then.
Oh,
What?
never mind.
Okay.
I mean, it's nothing. It's nothing like mind blowing or anything like that.
No,
I
it's
mean,
just the last page
They
says
just
the end.
bring it to a close.
Oh, okay. I don't
So
know.
unless they're starting a new arc somehow, but it seems like Fallen
Have you
Angels
read
is kind of
the-
wrapped up.
Have you read issue 6, Derek, of Fallen Angels?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think which one am I on? I have one at home that I haven't read yet.
It's
so-
right.
Okay, then yeah, you're one behind.
It's right there somewhere.
I think that's the only one of the 6 that I've seen that's ended.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're assuming that it's the series ending instead of an arc ending, so I guess I'm confused.
No, because
that
the
is
preview
true.
the preview is Hellions. In the back of the issue,
I got you.
it's
Oh,
preview
okay.
I
Hellions.
got you.
So I think Fallen Angels is moving into
Hellions.
I
Gotcha.
think so.
Okay. And then what's the other one? New Mutants
New
I'm
Mutants.
enjoying, and Excalibur is kind of like my least favorite, I think now.
That one, are they ending Excalibur 2?
I'm sure they will.
I mean, that one kind
I
of,
don't know.
it started pretty strong for me, and then it kind of went downhill. I didn't like how it
So,
Well, I'm going to be the
Are they-
naysayer. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna ask, when you say they're ending it, are they ending the book?
They're ending the book, yeah.
Fallen
the
Angels,
title.
yeah.
They're ending.
Fallen Angels, there's not going to be
That
a...
Is there a
particular,
reason for that?
I think they
just wrapped the
Poor
story.
sales,
up, it
probably.
seems.
I would say...
No, I think they had a story
Well-
that they were going to tell, and then it's moving into Hellions.
In my opinion, I feel like they did this first arc. I feel like any one of these books they could have finished off and ended it if they wanted to.
Yeah.
I think it was we're gonna see which ones sell and which ones don't. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe,
I don't
maybe
know.
they had a plan the whole
I don't
time.
I haven't read
see.
anything about that
I
yet.
feel
so
like that's what New 52 did that first year.
Yeah.
They just threw shit at the wall and see what stick.
Mhm.
So
No,
that
I
with
don't,
Griffin
I don't know.
and
I don't
the-
think
This
that
feels
would've
more
worked
planned
that
out.
quickly because it's only been it's only been 6 months. I mean, for them to decide to end an arc, I mean, they would have to have that planned out already. So, anyway, I don't know.
Well,
Well, my fear from the very beginning, because I really liked Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
My fear was that they were not going to be able to hold that level of goodness to me, or whatever. And I hate to say this, but I was right. For me, I was right. I don't think it's nearly as good as like Hoxpox. Some of them are good, like you said. Some I like better than others. But I'm really not sure, because I guess the point is when you can just be resurrected, you've got no skin in the game. I mean, okay,
But you know that's not gonna be forever.
Well,
but
it's not.
I
It's
mean-
not even current.
yeah,
now.
but I mean, what?
I mean-
What do you mean?
Look. So that was part of the premise with the last X-Men comic. Is they're putting they. I mean, y'all read the last one, issue 6 or issue 5. I think they're an issue behind.
Issue 5, yeah.
They went into that chamber where the time was distorted, and they were like, "Look, here's the deal. You're gonna go in here. We're not gonna know what happened to you until you come out. So if you don't come out, we can't do
Right, but
resurrection.
we don't know what happened.
We don't.
Right, but up until now, if you die, they're just bringing you back, and that's kind of their shtick.
But you have.
So-
It has to be confirmed. They have to. They have.
Right,
I get all of that.
He gets
but-
all that, but
But
they still
there's
come
no
back.
skin in the game. If you die, but they're going to bring you back, okay, so what? I mean, it doesn't mean anything when you die.
of course, then it never has, and that's kind of
Correct.
fun.
Well, they've all. Well, okay. I feel like they've also started to realize when they bring people back, there are some ramifications. I feel like they've talked about
which they
that a
mentioned in
little
New
bit.
Mutants, which is really cool.
That hey, every time you bring someone back, there's something slightly different about the next iteration of you.
Right. Again, I see. I think this whole resurrection protocol is temporary.
So far,
I don't know if it's. I don't know if it's
the
going to
power's
be
different.
1 year, 3 years, 5
Yeah.
years. I don't know how long it's going to be in this whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's temporary, and I'm okay. I'm enjoying the ride, and it's so nice because I haven't enjoyed an X-Men ride in a fucking long time.
Well, and I really did like Hotspots. I just am not liking this as much.
Gotcha.
But what the way it is now is certainly better than what it has been.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Then, oh yeah,
Okay, yeah.
in most cases.
And
Some
see-
of those
and see,
books
to
are not
me,
so good, but-
I kind of see what you're saying, but to me, House of X, Powers of X was an event to
Mhm.
set up a new status quo.
Mhm.
So,
This is the.
I guess I don't. And even toward the end of House of X Powers 10, to me, I wasn't as excited about it. Like, I thought it
It
started
had some
off really
better
good,
issues.
and then I think it kind of simmered down.
Mhm.
And to me, it is as good, and I'm enjoying it. I am looking forward every issue as much as I did before. But I see why you're not.
Yeah.
But I think that might be because it's more diluted, and if you're looking for all of them to be that good, then no, they're not. That's why I've already ranked them.
Right.
So,
Plus, I kind of miss whereas you had that way in the future. Is that the Powers?
The Powers of X. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one.
Powers of
Powers of
10.
10. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it just feels like they did all that and then they dropped it. I mean, we're not even talking about that anymore. I mean,
Well, a
They-
lot of
they
those
did-
timelines ended, and then she came back and she has reset everything. So
Well-
none of that stuff exists anymore.
Well, what is?
but I mean, it was still storytelling in that future, and then I'm thinking that maybe.
Hey, buddy.
I'm thinking maybe they're going to bring it back in some of these newer ones that are coming.
Well,
Because like that
again,
one
so
that looks
didn't they-
like.
Didn't they talk about
what's the
that
name of that?
in the X-Men? Were they in the last X-Men where they were talking about, look, this person's advancing so much quicker. We're
Yeah.
afraid we're going to have that same
Yeah.
issue where they're.
So maybe they're going to come to it, but it's just taking a minute.
Yeah.
If I know
I just-
Hickman, it's going to come full circle at some point. It might take a little bit of time though, but I think it's
Yeah.
coming around.
You have not said anything. You need to
Yeah.
check.
Yeah,
no.
come on, Mr.
Wake up, Boo Bear.
I mean, I'm enjoying all of them.
Here,
The
some more
thing
grape
is,
Coke.
it's like it's not gonna do any good. And I caffeine in it.
Yeah, Grape Coke's caffeine free.
Gross.
So as far as like for X-Men, like this most recent episode is what I was enjoying about X-Men. It's kind of the sci-fi, really weird kind of out there stuff. They've had a couple. X-Men has been so like isolated with each issue, even though they're good. I've enjoyed all of them. It was just kind of weird because it's like one issue you had the old ladies, and that was like that whole
That one
issue.
was weird.
And then the next issue, you had that one where they were going to meet with the United Nations. You know what I mean? Each one
And
is
then you don't
good
hear about it again.
within itself, but I feel like Hickman is building to something, but I
Right.
just don't. It doesn't feel like the pieces are fitting together yet.
Which I kind of like. That,
I mean,
that makes
I-
it less predictable.
Yeah. I mean, I do like that. I'm not saying I don't like that, but
Because
it's just,
you got that little weird glow in the dark whitish figure that they found. That's got to come back at some point.
Yeah, the Child of the Vault. That's what
They
you
did
haven't
come.
read the
You
most
have-
recent.
Oh wait a minute. So that's the same one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same one from issue 1. that they found and she escaped?
Well, no, not that
When
one.
they
The one
broke
that
into the orchis
who was
plant?
no, who was the one that was hugging Apocalypse? Who was that?
Oh yeah. You're talking about the daughter of war, the child of war.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that hasn't come back yet, and that was an interesting plot point. When Oroka came back, and that stuff. Stuff like that is interesting. But so at the same time, like Hickman talked about before Hoxpox even started, that there's a 2-year plan in place. So we're only 6 months in.
Right.
We're a quarter of the way through now.
Right.
So, I was disappointed a little bit that because Fallen Angels started off really strong, it felt like it got a little rushed at the end. But they did tell a complete story, so I feel like that one was just kind of a one and done, kind of put together thing.
Gotcha.
Marauders, I'm enjoying. I like it. Like I said, I love when Emma Frost is Emma Frosting. I love her when she's in her character.
Right.
New Mutants, I'm enjoying the story that's going on out in space. I'm not so sure where they're going with it. They need to kind of do something. They probably will next issue. But the ones on Earth, I liked that story, but it got kind of weird and it went really dark in the last issue.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, that was quick.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're setting up there. It's but I love the thing is, I kind of want that one to succeed because those are probably besides the the 05 and like the 90s X-Men. I like that team.
I can tell you right now, the one I'm not looking forward to is
Wolverine.
No, I never buy Wolverine.
Who's Wolverine?
The one with the little sidekicks. What's it called?
Yeah.
Children of the Atom or whatever? Or?
Oh, that one. They were talking about the new stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one is the one I think is going to bring in some of this.
Some of the chimeras.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that might make it interesting, but right now I'm just kind of like, right now it just doesn't look interesting.
I'm kind of throwing shade at that one.
I'm back and forth on which of the next generation of these I'm going to actually buy.
I'll give them all a try just because
See, unfortunately I feel like I'm going to have to do the same thing, or I feel like knowing me, I'm going to do all that. But,
I don't think I've ever bought a Wolverine comic, like Wolverine by
you
himself.
should start with this one.
No.
I don't think I will.
You should.
Because I think
No.
I think they use Wolverine too much.
The only time I did was with Larry Hama when he was writing it with Mark Silvestri, and I just love the way Mark Silvestri drew him.
Interesting because I'm not a Mark Silvestri fan. I don't think.
Just because of
Yeah, I'm
this,
not.
I'm gonna buy it, and I hope it's amazing, and I'm gonna rub it in your face.
I mean, I'm gonna buy it, and I'll give it a few issues.
And the Barry Windsor Smith story.
The what?
And the Barry Windsor Smith story.
All right, so
Weapon
can I ask
X,
2 questions about X-Force?
Because it was up there called around.
Yes.
Maybe something that I've either missed or I don't know what. But
Right.
with all the healers and the people where they can just resurrect folk, why the hell won't they heal Domino?
I think they're going to next issue. I think things have
They better because
things have
that's pissing
progressed
me
so
off.
quickly that I think they've had to deal with this issue so quickly that they haven't really had time to do that.
And then the last question I have is on the last. Everybody read this?
Yeah.
Oh, who is that on the last panel?
It's
the guy that
it's
was
like
I haven't read this yet. It's okay, boo.
it's
Put it in the comments.
I asked if you had
Like
read it.
the-
You go,
so he
like,
talked about Beast put in Beast was experimenting on him and kind of did some weird stuff to him and thought that he was to the son of the president
The
of
son of
whatever
the
country it was.
president, yeah.
Oh.
He did some experiments
He
to
did some
extract
experiments
that.
with him to extract that and mess around with him with Krakoa and stuff. And because that was the thing, it was like this. The people were like bioterrorists almost. They had augmented their bodies so they could be plant-like. And so Beast was messing around with it, and then ended up sending his body back. And apparently, even though the dude was dead, there was some dormant stuff, and it was alive. And so it he gooped out, and it came out, and he reconstituted himself.
That's hilarious.
So
They gooped out. Come on, Derek. Didn't you get it?
I got it. I just was like, who the hell's that? Am I the only one who doesn't remember Black Tom Cassidy as being the powers that he has now?
I don't read anything about
I
him.
don't.
I mean,
remember.
I was
like
like
such a-
legitimately
He's
remember.
a D character
he
for me, and I'm like, whatever.
He just had that shillelagh, you know, and he always had that shillelagh, and you know, and that was
Yeah.
it. There was no
Sorry. He had a what?
a shillelagh. You know, it was
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was.
I don't
worth
do repeats very often.
He doesn't.
So yeah, I don't know
was-
about that.
That was just for me. Thank you.
That's right.
But honestly, yeah, out of all, I mean, I'm enjoying all of them. Excalibur, I'm enjoying. I kind of wish I knew a little more
That
about
is
the
a good shot of
Braddocks
him,
to, kind of.
You are
understand
rough on your
that.
books.
I know,
Yes,
right?
he's so rough.
He
on
is.
That's
his
why I won't
guys.
let him borrow any of my books anymore.
No wonder, shit.
It's my books, and they just
Until I have to read them and then they're all crumpled
Oh my
up.
god, I've never.
Oh my
I have
God,
never
let
folded
me-
a book back on itself like he just
Yes.
did.
Oh,
It
it's
is-
crumpled. I can't read it.
Oh
Oh my God.
What he did just now, kind of like
It hurts.
It hurt me. It hurt so bad.
Oh,
Y'all are nuts.
like vampires getting away from God.
Are you
You
gonna
ready
go
to pop your
sell them?
Hell yeah.
Let's
Are
try
you
it.
gonna go sell them somewhere?
We gotta get somewhere.
Wait, what happened?
Be careful.
Yep.
His back has been hurting, and I popped this girl's back at work.
Yeah.
Oh,
Are y'all gonna do it in front
Are
of
we
the
doing
camera?
this live,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah, here.
Let's
Don't
do
step
the
on
thing.
my
I'm sorry,
book.
folks.
I'll
Move your books.
no, you aren't.
Are we
Derek.
still in the
Don't
camera
sell
shot?
the books. Let's hope we don't break my
Let me see.
back.
Right.
Gosh, we
meanwhile,
don't want to break my
Back
back.
off.
Okay, cross my arms.
Yeah.
So like this.
Yeah,
Okay,
he
that's
likes
good.
that.
Yeah, you're still alright.
okay, you can't even.
Alright.
Okay,
I'm just
what?
gonna burp. Oh, that feels good. I do the thing. Oh,
Did you get it?
Yeah.
I thought I heard it.
I did.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear it, so I guess.
No, but we felt it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure he felt it.
And Jennifer was like, "Don't do that to him.
Don't do that to him.
You'll break his back."
Break his back.
If you're watching, Jen, it didn't break.
She's still in the chat.
It didn't break his back.
So she's watching?
She's watching.
Awesome.
You really should hear her when I do Jamara at work, because Jamara's like, I don't know, 5'4",
She said LOL.
and she's like tiny, and I do it, it goes.
Oh.
Yeah, it like scared. I thought I broke her the first time I did it.
Oh.
Isn't that the noise that like the predator makes?
Pretty much.
Okay, just checking.
What
That's
is-
kind of scary.
Jennifer just laughed.
Oh, when
All
I get
right,
home,
so what's next?
when I get home, she's
So-
gonna be like, you fucker.
So I was gonna jump back to one of the books I had that Doug's actually read, so he might be able to comment more about this than I have. So whenever Mandalorian came out, everybody I know that's heard or read this book or the movies has been talking about Lone Wolf and Cub. It was so Lone Wolf and Cub, and I was like, what the hell are y'all talking about? So when I was back home visiting family for the holidays, we went to a comic book store. I actually saw all 12 of the omnibus issues of this, which are all this big. It's 12 issues put together.
As God intended.
It's the cheapest way to read comics, I can tell you that. So I went ahead and bought the first one, and I am in love with it. I went ahead, bought issue omnibus number 2.
I didn't get it.
As you can imagine, I'll pass it around in case you guys want to look at some of the artwork.
Ooh, Travis is so thick.
It's super thick, Mark. As you can imagine, careful.
Don't wrinkle it.
I know how to handle a book.
Yeah, don't let Derek touch that book. So it's the story follows a Ronin, which is a samurai that doesn't have a master anymore, and his young child. So I think the samurai's name, and I might mispronounce this. I don't know if you know how to pronounce it, Doug, but Ugami Ito
Sounds good. Sounds
for
good.
me.
and Daigoro, his son.
That is right, yes. Daigoro was the only one that I really wanted to keep track of because, he's cute.
Anybody?
So.
Yeah. So when I first started reading it, my initial reactions were, it's a pretty repetitive story. It's basically the samurai the Ronin comes to a town. The samurai comes to a town. The people are like, who is this guy? He's got a kid. He's probably not an assassin. And then all of a sudden, he ends up killing somebody in the town. Pretty common story. After a while, they start changing things up enough where I started to get a little bit more intrigued. You realize he starts using his son as like a prop in some of his assassinations.
Which is awesome and creepy.
Which is, I mean, he is very adamant about, his son is on his own if he has to be on his own. Like, there's some issues where Daigoro is legitimately on his own for the entire issue.
But
in like
even
the
then-
weirdest
well, but
situations.
Even then, that kid is still lethal as fuck.
Oh yeah, no, there's one where he is the badass when Ugami's like sitting in a room like dying because he's sick.
Yeah.
So-
I thought it was like, what the heck?
In reading, you read this entire one.
I read
the
that whole
entire
one,
thing,
yeah.
Have they gone into the backstory of him?
Yes.
Like, what, okay. So I mean, that's the whole thing. Is like his son chose the sword over the ball.
Yeah, so that
So,
was one of my
you know.
favorite issues. I was going to talk about
Yeah.
that one.
So-
So there's a sorry, go ahead.
No. So I mean, that's like the whole thing. Is like his father is like, okay, you can choose the sword, or you can choose the ball, and you know I'll end your life and I'll go and get revenge on my own.
Yeah.
But the kid chooses the sword instead, and so I mean, the kid is as much in on it as you know as Ito is.
Yeah, they actually go into the backstory and they talk about there's these three different kind of families or maybe groups, whatever.
It's
Um,
yeah.
And he is the
Sho-
Shogun's assassin.
Yeah.
And he decides he's not going to be the Shogun's assassin anymore. He knows that some people are coming to kill him because he's about to abandon the Shogun or leave and go do his own thing. And he gives, like you said, he gives Daigoro an opportunity. He's like, you can either pick this sword and I will take you down the assassin's road, or you can take this ball and you'll be in heaven with your mother by tonight.
Mm-hmm.
By Assassin's Road, do we mean?
I don't even know what you're
I
doing.
guess not.
I don't know where you're going with
I don't
I thought it
either.
might be code for some sort of strange initiation, but no, guess not.
Well,
No, he's going to go kill people.
in Japanese medieval society, they all had like caste systems that matched their job,
Mm-hmm.
and his job was to be an assassin. And the kid was either going to be an assassin or he got to go live with his mother.
Yeah.
in heaven.
In heaven.
So,
Well, I mean, no.
Am I the only one old enough to remember that show, Shogun?
Yes.
Miniseries?
no, yes,
I'm old enough. I don't
Well, that's the
remember.
thing. I don't know.
Richard
how,
Chamberlain, I think, was
So
That's right.
I've only seen the movies. I have not seen. I've
Well,
not
you know
read
they're
the
bringing
manga.
back Kung Fu
yes.
So the way I understood
Yes.
it
Properly.
is
because everything is being coming back.
he
Will
was.
it please be an Asian person? And
I think it is an Asian
Okay.
person this time.
When they do seppuku,
Yeah.
he would like be the one to cut their head off, you know, or ritual
Yeah, I know,
suicide.
but it's just funny because it
okay.
sounded funny coming out of his mouth.
Coming out
Yeah.
of a white guy, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So
I am leaving that
but the,
alone.
the whole thing is there was like
It's for
this
the best.
this one clan was trying to like perform a coup, and so they came and murdered his wife and murdered everybody and planted the symbol of the shogunate in the temple, so it looked like he was praying for the shogun's death. And so that's when he goes on this revenge, and that I mean that it may
Well,
be
so
different
that-
in the
but
manga.
yeah, I don't think
Because-
that's how they do it in the
No,
book.
y'all.
They
Yeah.
don't.
It's not that I see.
They just speed
And
it
so
up.
that's why they so go.
They have to do it like that.
Yeah.
We all did it too.
But anyway, so that's why he goes on this, revenge,
Quest.
quest, and takes the son along with him, is because his wife was murdered, and then trying to frame him
Yeah.
as wanting the shogun to die, so they can take power. This one clan can take power.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. So Doug's the only one that's actually read the comic, and he's been.
They don't know if they want you to hold it, Derek.
You can let Derek hold it. Derek can hold the stick for
So
it. Don't
there's-
drop it.
Don't break the
There's one story.
Yeah, don't
in
break
there-
the spine.
There's one story in
That's
there
already
called the Gateless Barrier, and it's probably like in the second smallish thing, so it's probably like number 8 in there, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe number 7. Anyway, it's the theme of that is if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him.
Kill the Buddha.
Yeah.
And like that story like changed like a lot about like how I saw shit after that. Because it's like you can never see enlightenment the same way twice. You should never give your power over to somebody else. And that lesson's applicable to choosing what bagels you buy to what job you get, all that stuff.
bagels.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just, everything about that story, because like that story opens up with him going, you know what? I'm just gonna sit down under this tree or in this hut and get enlightenment, and I'm not gonna get up from this spot until it happens. And the way the illustrator draws that whole process happening is just beautiful.
Yeah. So I will say, if you've watched Mandalorian, you like the kind of premise of it. This mercenary with this child. This is literally a comic book designed for you. So I would highly recommend it. It is, like I said, there's 12 of these. So it's a quick read, but there is a lot of it out there. So I would say each issue, I would read one at night. It would take me like 10 minutes to read through. Some of them are like 30 to, I think, 45 or 50 pages is like the longest issue. They're a little bit longer, but they're smaller pages, so not as many panels.
Yeah.
All right, Doug, what you got for us?
So-
What you got, Doug?
I brought.
Do you want another beer, by the way?
Sure. Well, actually, no, I don't need another one.
Because he has to drive.
But
Okay.
So I mentioned earlier about Hopi and Maggie in Love and Rockets. This is by Jaime Hernandez. It's one of the Hernandez brothers. If you read Love and Rockets, you're going to read probably all three of them. The problem with Love and Rockets, that kind of chaps my ass a little bit, is that when you go to buy a Love and Rockets graphic novel, you kind of pick which brother you're going to buy from. I always get Jaime, Jamie, in English, because I love the way he draws. He draws clean lines, very stark black and white, and his penmanship and his anatomy is right on. And he draws all types of different people. Okay, it's not like superhero comics where you see just one type of person over and over and over again. It's
Yeah, because I
all
opened
kinds
up
of
and,
women.
and this lady has hips and
Yeah.
this lady doesn't, and this guy. There's a little person.
Yeah.
And
And just flip a page or two, and you're going to see some jiggly bits. And then, so the other.
When you say that you're deciding which brother to buy from, what do you mean? Are they?
So when
Different.
I say the Hernandez brothers, it's three brothers, and they draw comics together. And
Yeah.
their comic that they publish under. I'm glad you said that because I want to clarify it otherwise.
Yeah.
The comic that they publish under through Fantagraphics is called Love and Rockets, and they've been doing this since the '80s.
Okay.
And it's like they only publish whenever they got something to put out. And which kills me because it's like from the '80s, from the mid '80s to like the mid '90s, they only put out 50 issues,
Yeah.
right? And that's like their first volume. Their second volume went from like '96 to like 2000 something, and then that's when the graphic novel thing started happening. So they changed formats to like 100 pages, and then they would publish that like once, maybe twice a year.
Yeah.
Actually, probably once a year. So that was actually volume 3, and they've got a volume 4, which is, if you're gonna buy Love and Rockets, buy volume 4, okay? Because you want to get this other stuff in trade, okay? This particular book I think is out of print, so when I say Fantagraphics and Love and Rockets, that's really where you should start, okay? So basically what I'm saying is that like Love and Rockets volume 4, and you can buy the issues as they come out. I have like the first 4, and I think they've gotten up to like 8.
Oh, okay.
And I think
So, I missed this because I went to the bathroom real fast. Did you pick this because of your answer for the intro question, or was this just coincidence?
No, this was just coincidence.
Yeah.
Okay, so in Love and Rockets #1 for volume 4, there was a letter, a fan letter that somebody wrote, where they just went on for like 5 paragraphs about how much Maggie needs to just get rid of Hopi, but at the same time, Hopi's the only one for her. And Jaime basically said, "This is my favorite piece of fan mail ever," and it was the only letter in the letters page. Okay, and he's been doing this since like 86, right? So that was like that said everything to me, and I really don't understand the whole Maggie Hopi thing. I just know that they are just two women that just can't seem to make it work, and it's not because they hate each other or they're angry at each other or whatever. life happens, and it gets in the way of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And for all that to happen the way that it does is just crazy. Now, his brother Gilbert, he is like, shit, what's the dude's name? Faulkner.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where Faulkner had his own like county and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Gilbert has his own like little city, little village.
Okay.
And it's called Palomar.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a village. And anyway, make a long story short, everything that happens in his stories happens in Palomar.
Mhm.
Okay, and so that's your frame of reference.
Oh, okay.
And the other brother Mario, he just does off the wall shit,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and he does it just because he's probably the middle kid anyway.
Yeah.
you know.
So it's all three of them writing it.
But yeah, all three of them are writing it, and
Mhm.
they all three do great stuff. But Mario's best comics is in Volume 4 because
Mhm.
Mario, not so much with the awesome, the first. You know, but like he really comes into his own form of storytelling in the fourth volume.
Mhm.
So,
All right.
but yeah,
So, I think the last comic that I had to talk about, which I'll talk about pretty quickly. I honestly don't remember if I talked about this in an earlier issue or not. I went through the show notes for earlier shows to see if I could find it, and I couldn't. But our show notes only go back to, I think, issue 4.
I like how we say episodes for comics and issues for shows.
Episodes, shows, issues, whatever.
So confusing.
So, Monstrss just came back up. Issue 25 just came out. This is probably one of my favorite comics that I've been reading that's currently coming out. Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. I brought a couple trade paperbacks so you could kind of look through it if you guys are interested.
give me.
And then I got an individual issue 25. So the premise of this is kind of like
He
a...
spends money on comics.
Yes,
this
she
is
does.
kind of like a steampunk version of early alternate 1900s Asia. So there's a few different races that are happening. God, you gave
Ooh.
Derek the individual issue? Are you kidding me? I'm just kidding.
Oh wow.
So the artwork is absolutely stunning to me.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, wow.
It has such detail, and yet it's not like overpowering. Like
That's
you
exactly
know,
right.
you're confused as to what's going on. It's very, very, very detailed. I love all the cover art. Is my favorite. So the story is there's a few different races that we know about. There's the ancients, which are like bipedal, kind of humanoid animals. There's humans, which is
that
the
them?
typical human. Yeah, that's an ancient. And then there's the Arcanics, which are a mixture of the two. So they're humanoid, they're human, but they have like a tail or like ears of an animal kind of thing. There's
Then there's the manga people.
there's a certain part of the human race that's very magical called the Chimea or Kumea.
Mhm.
And they are kind of trying to find and harvest the Arcanics throughout the book. Like they're trying to capture them, take them hostage, and like harvest their body for
Beautiful.
power. I think it's been a while since I've seen what they actually do to them. And the humans and the ancients are kind of at war. And there's also these cats that are like the record keepers. They have like multiple tails.
Right. One of I saw had 5
yeah.
tails.
If you, in the back of the early issues, I don't think it's happening in the later ones, there's a specific cat called, I think it's Tam Tam or something like that, where he gives like a little one-page tale about like the past. And there's also
Professor Tam Tam.
Professor Tam Tam, yes. And then there's also these gods that are like all sorts of... They look like a bunch of tentacles with eyes. And the main character, early on, this
Flying
happens.
spaghetti monster.
Yeah, Flying Spaghetti Monster is a pretty good description. Early on, this happens, so I don't think it's much of a spoiler. The main character, Micah Half-Wolf, actually has a god that ends up going inside of her, and it's like a part of her. So she's missing an arm, which you find out what happens to it, and
Ooh.
throughout, yeah, that's
Ooh.
that kind of surprised me. Throughout the book, there's several times where the god that's inside of her, his name is Zen, comes out and attacks people.
Oh shit.
And it has to like feed on actual people or arcanics or ancients. And so she tries to control it. Throughout the book, she has several opportunities of trying to figure out how she's gonna control it. Sometimes she's successful, sometimes she's not. But it's a beautiful story. There's everything in it: mystery, betrayal, some definite horror with some of the people they run into. The main character is again a pretty badass chick. I mean, she looks so innocent, but she can be pretty dramatic when it comes to killing somebody. She knows how to kill people. She's good at it.
I need an anime made of this.
Oh, it would be an amazing anime.
Yeah.
So this is actually. I just saw Doug flip to this. Well, no, where was it? That one. So she's actually, her bloodline goes back to what they call the Shaman Empress, who is like, I think she's like one of the original Arcanics, or maybe I think she's an Arcanic because she doesn't look like an ancient to me. But she's got this bloodline that it's like a royal bloodline that everybody's trying to control her destiny, and so she's kind of trying to make her own way in the world. I think it's an absolutely fantastic story. I'm willing to let someone borrow the first couple trades if they want to check it out, but I would highly recommend it. This is one that Chris Lawson said I need to check out, and I thank him because it was actually very good. So
it's beautiful.
that's it.